You've done your research, you've looked at the rules, you've planned the coop. Now comes the fun part, choosing your chickens. Today, Phil and I are going to be walking you through how to pick the right breeds for your homestead and your life.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Coop Podcast with Meyer Hatchery, where we talk all things poultry in hopes of educating chicken keepers and inspiring future flock owners. We are Phil and Lauren with Meyer Hatchery, and we are glad to have you join us today to discuss considerations to make when choosing the right poultry for your homestead. Thanks for tuning in.
And as always, if you find this information helpful, or if you think another poultry keeper might find this information helpful, please send it to them. Feel free to like, subscribe, and send us a comment below. And you can also reach out to our team at meyerhatchery.com for any poultry needs.
That's right, Lauren. Thanks so much. Today, we're going to move beyond just chickens to selecting the right poultry breeds for your homestead's unique needs.
Which is the fun part at this point.
Absolutely. You've done all the hard work. Now it's time to pick your favorite flavor or favorite color.
And go do some online shopping and indulge in some chicken math.
That's right. On our website, you can always go to the Shop What's Hatching button at the top of the webpage and select the breeds that will fit your needs.
Absolutely. And we do have some YouTube videos helping you navigate our website, which I will link down below.
Excellent. So to get started, we need to take a step back and get back to what is your why? What do you plan to do with the poultry that you keep on your farm? Do you have them for egg production or meat production? Do you want them to show and exhibit? Or do you just want them to be pets and have fun with them? I think it's important that we acknowledge the number of breeds also that are out there, including the ones that we carry on our website, and the importance of making an informed decision when selecting the right breeds for your needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are so many breeds out there, and it's just so much fun to look through all of them. So making sure you have that research before and you have that purpose set will help you not overfill your coop right away.
Which is very easy to do, for sure.
Oh, so easy, especially if you're on our website and you see all of the pretty chickens, you're immediately going to click add to cart.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. So let's take a moment. And again, we're going to talk about the different reasons why you are adding poultry to your homestead and what that means, for your overall plan.
Yeah. I know from my personal experience that we have had anything from Easter eggers to leghorns to Rhode Island Reds, pretty much any egg layers you can come up with, I've had. So we've always found that when we're looking at our breeds, we want to find a friendly breed, of course, because my parents were raising chickens alongside children. So having chickens that were family friendly was very important, but also having those chickens that have a good amount of production, having that stat was very important. And making sure that you check in with yourself as you purchase those birds was also very important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you've been mostly an egg production family at your homestead. On mine, it all started out actually for me as just when I looked at my why, it was more along the lines of pets and aesthetics and just having something new and neat to add to our urban homestead that my family was that we had at the time. It started as that, but then we got into egg production, we got into meat production, and so we've had a little bit of everything on my flock. I think my why is a little bit of, ooh, chickens are pretty, and I like that flavor.
Gimme.
You look neat. Let me bring you home and see what we can do.
Absolutely.
And with that, I mean, I kind of I didn't know my why at the beginning, but I kind of found my why as I went along. And I think that's important to know, that it's okay if you don't know what you don't know. And I think we have a solution for that at Meyer Hatchery where we offer assortments. If you don't know what breeds you like or you don't know what breeds to go with, one of the big things I think a big positive with having an assortment is that you get to test out a couple different breeds when you do that. And you can see, which breeds do well on your homestead, which breeds, have the right temperament for your homestead and for your family. Like you mentioned, having small children around, there are some breeds that are a little bit more flighty,
Yep.
that may not do well with kids running around and things like that. And so again, once we get back to the why, I think it's okay for that to grow with you as your homestead grows or changes. Because we got into meat birds, and I did a an entire harvest of Cornish Cross, which was an interesting, eye-opening experience for me, just because they don't act like my egg laying chickens did. And so I was like, oh, this is new. We get to learn a new side of it, of keeping poultry. Um, but then once I had the meat birds, I was like, okay, well, with the Cornish Cross not wanting to forage as much as my other chickens, are there meat birds that do?
Yeah,
And so it
exactly.
kind of got down the rabbit hole and ended up with some of our pioneers from the Meyer Hatchery website, the Pioneer Broilers. They are an amazing meat bird and totally changed
Truly.
my why, if you will, of having meat birds on my homestead. So it's okay for that to change over time and for you to grow into different reasons of needing birds. And one thing I didn't touch on is guarding. I'm not a duck or a waterfowl, or a like sport bird, person, for lack of a better term. Chicken tender. I'm a chicken tender. I definitely like chickens most.
Yeah.
But there are breeds of poultry like guineas, geese, and things like that that help with pest and tick control, guarding your flock, raising the alarm when there are predators near, much like your roosters will do if you're able to
Yep.
have them in your flock. Um,
Absolutely. So, like you said with the ticks, so if from an area where you get a lot of ticks, maybe you want to consider getting some guineas in your flock. Or maybe if you're in an area where, for me, it was black widows. So,
oh,
having the chickens that will go and run after them, or even honestly, I think ducks will also go after spiders as well. I've had very limited experience with ducks,
uh
but
huh.
I'm pretty sure they will if they're presented with one. But yeah, looking at like if you want that pest control, what's the best breed for that?
Yeah, we at Meyer Hatchery, we have lots of options that we can offer for that pest control, like you mentioned, guineas, ducks, um, and great foraging chickens,
Hmm.
are definitely, a good way to. They're going to scratch and peck and eat everything that they can find. So they will definitely be a great benefit and great add to your flock if you are so inclined.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
But as we categorize the breeds that we're going to talk about today, we're going to focus on egg layers,
Hmm.
meat birds, and dual purpose. Meyer Hatchery does sell hatchery grade poultry, but even those, can develop into breeding and show birds. But our focus here today will be egg layers, meat birds, and dual purpose, just to kind of narrow it down a little bit for everybody, as you're listening.
Absolutely. And honestly, there are going to be a lot of other considerations as well. So, like climate, temperament, all of that as well, that we're going to dive into with each one of these sections as well.
Yeah, let's start. I mean, we're in the midst of the great ice box hitting the entire United States right now.
Yeah, so as
Um,
of recording this, I don't think when we put it out, this will have happened so recently. But as we're recording this, we have just had Winter Storm Fern. So it is frigid where we are.
Yeah. My high today is 0, and or right now it's 0 degrees with a -15 wind chill. So,
Yep,
um,
sounds about right.
in central Ohio. And
Hmm.
so let's talk about climate hardiness, and how we can pick breeds that are appropriate for our climate where we're local. One thing that I always suggest, and we've touched upon it in previous episodes, is check with your county extension office to see what breeds are popular in your climate. That's always a great place to start, still, I think. And then make sure you come to the Meyer Hatchery website where we can filter the breeds that we have based on climate hardiness. So you can find a lot of information there as well. Um, I think the biggest thing is, how do chickens handle, or poultry as a whole, how do they handle the cold temperatures where you are or the hot temperatures where you are? Um,
Absolutely.
there are
100%.
Yeah, there are a couple different things to think about when you're looking at breeds. And let's see how they handle cold weather, how they handle the hot summers, what your setup looks like so that you can meet their needs. But when selecting breeds, um, tight feathered breeds like in bantams and silkies, they can sometimes have trouble in colder climates just because they don't have all the fluff and down to keep them warm or
Insulate them as much.
insulate. Yes, that
Yeah.
was the word that I was looking for.
And also with bantams, you do have to take into consideration they are smaller than normal chickens, so their body heat is more condensed. So they're going to get colder faster because they're tiny.
Right. And so I we get a lot of questions with customer service at Meyer that, what breed would you select where I'm from? Where can I find these breeds and things like that, where we can be a resource for them. But again, I would suggest reaching out to your county extension office to make sure that you're picking the right breeds for your climate. We can help once you narrow that down what those should be for you. And I would say, larger and fluffier breeds do better in colder climates than hot climates. But even, the heavily feathered breeds, they can be kept in both.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you make those accommodations. So, like in hot climates, if you have a fan or a mister or something like that to keep those birds comfortable, or even in cold climates, making sure that you don't have drafts, you have low humidity, you have good roosting space, you have heaters, all of that, just making those accommodations to those birds is very important as well.
For sure. I think the biggest consideration I make with whether a bird is appropriate for me in Central Ohio, which most everything that we have, that we offer on the website is acceptable and will do fine in Ohio. But like, I know that when I was planning the build of my first coop, it was extremely important to make sure that ventilation in the coop was always number one.
Yeah.
We talked about that before, but um, in those hot climates, you're definitely going to want to have a fan in your coop if possible, to keep air movement moving. Or, that makes sense. Air moving. Um, that was the biggest thing, and then making sure that lots of frozen treats and
Hmm.
um, I know my flock loves watermelons. They will
Oh, yeah.
they will
Oh,
devour a
yeah.
watermelon in no time, especially in the heat of the summer.
Yes, 100%. And even in your cold climates, like where we currently are somehow, having foods that are like higher in carbs. So when you think about how you're feeding your chicken, think about if you're going out for a run. So having those high carbs, making sure that it's dense food is going to fuel them a lot longer then a lot shorter. So think of it almost like carbo loading if you're in a winter or a more cold climate.
Yeah, that cracked corn definitely helps them generate a little bit more heat.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and I make sure that I don't make any food changes when it gets really cold too, just because
Yes.
they're used to a certain level of protein and things like that in their food. And I while I do supplement, like I will cook a turkey for my flock, and they
Love.
will, in the winter, they love to pick at that, and it gives them extra protein above their food ration as well. Um, Especially with these really sub-zero climate or sub-zero temperatures, excuse me.
Yes.
Um, that extra protein I think is helpful, but again, I don't change my food anytime we're hitting
Yes.
the extremes, just because I don't want to stress them out further. So I just add a couple little treats in here and there, and um,
Yeah, and on top of that as well, while we're talking about stressors, in both extremes, you don't want to be adding any chickens into your group. So having young chicks or poults or anything like that, you don't want to be adding stress into your coop because they will stack on top of each other if it's cold, or they'll get pecky if it's a little too hot.
oh my gosh,
Um,
yes.
yes. So just making sure that, let's say you're incubating and you have a new group, maybe wait until that weather has calmed down a little bit to start introducing your new flock to your old flock.
Sure, sure. And I mean, the weather is going to happen no matter
Hmm.
what we do. So you can definitely integrate new members into your flock during these extremes, but you just have to take extra steps in order to do it to maintain the lower stress level. And you mentioned adding chicks during the cold and how they can pile up on
Hmm.
top of each other. I think it warrants a special mention that
Yes.
younger chicks like to crowd in corners, and a lot of you listening probably have already know that. And so it's always good to block off corners so that they don't stack too heavily in the corners on top of each other. If that happens, it's possible that you could lose some members as they suffocate each other out. I've had it happen, and it's not fun. And I'm like, oh man, I have to get a different brooder set up, because these chicks are trying to stay warm. They're doing something that's natural to them and crowding in the corners. So if you block those off so that they don't have corners to push each other into, um, you can definitely have more success with that. Just one little tip that I've learned the hard way.
Yeah, absolutely. And just making sure that they also have the room to, in a hot climate, because I know when I'm hot, I don't want to be near everyone.
Right.
So having space if you're in a more hot climate, so they're not like piled on top of each other and they're not then getting mad at each other because you're in my space, get out of my way. Yeah. It's like if you're going to, let's say, Kings Island and people are bunched up on top of each other in the line. So
Right.
just making sure they can have that space to breathe, go to their separate corners, um, is also very helpful.
Yeah. And you touch on something there, temperament. That was going to be the
Mhm.
next thing that I wanted to talk about. Are they flighty? Are they active? Are they docile? Um, the next big consideration, I think, is overall, how does a breed handle being a member of a flock? Are they good for kids in small spaces? Are they a breed that can handle confinement well, or are they breeds that if you don't have a covered run, they're going to escape?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like as I mentioned,
Excuse
I
me.
grew all right. I grew up around chickens. So a big consideration for my family was how are these chickens going to interact with
Right,
4, 5, 6 year olds?
right.
So we had a lot of I will say I remember a lot of Barred Rocks as I was growing up because they were just very sweet.
I know. I think that the biggest thing with Another question that we get often in
Yeah.
customer service is, what breeds are going to have a better personality than others, or what is this breed going to be compatible with this other breed, and
Yeah,
things like that.
absolutely.
And while we have those filters on our website so that you can choose breeds that are more docile or more active depending on the needs of your homestead. I think special consideration should be given that each chicken is its own individual, and
Yes.
while the breed may be known for being docile, that doesn't mean that every chicken that you have will be that way. And there was definitely they will establish a pecking order,
Mhm.
and that can sometimes be seen as a little traumatic if you don't know what they're doing, as
Yes.
they try to rearrange who's in charge. But it is something that happens, and I think if given time, space, proper enough food, and a number of waterers and things like that, it's possible to have any breed of chicken, in your flock be compatible with the others. The next thing that I'd like to talk about would be roosters in your flock.
Yes, absolutely. I know from my personal experience, I've had some crazy roosters that I did not expect them to be crazy. I mean, I had one named Mouse who was an Easter egger,
Mhm.
and he was not my best friend. He liked to drop kick anyone who came into the backyard. So, looking at your birds, and I mean, I've had roosters that were golden buffs that were also rude. So
I think roosters can get a bad rap, though. I
yeah.
think there are ways to integrate them, and I have, I would say, probably 16 or so roosters in my flock.
Yep.
um, and they all know their place. They had
Mhm.
to work it out. They had to get the pecking order established of who's going to cover this area of the yard and who's going to be over these ladies, and things like that. But once they got that down, um, my flock was pretty much easy going after that. There's lots of different crows and things like that, but I think a lot of roosters get a bad rap when they
Yes.
actually can be great members of your flock. They're protective of their females, and they definitely embrace that as their job.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's important that if you're allowed to have roosters, you handle them, give them treats before, so that they know that the treats come from you and
Mhm.
that you are the food person for them. And one thing that I like to do with my flock is I give my rooster the treats, and then he gives them to his ladies and calls them over. So
Oh.
we have a little bit of a relationship like that, that he knows that when he sees me, especially Jasper, my house chicken, um, when he sees me, he knows that he's going to get stuff that he can offer to others in the flock.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, even adding me to the pecking order, I think, is helpful, so that every time I walk by, I don't have, a rooster trying to drop kick me or
Yes.
chasing me around the yard. Funny story. I have, as as a parent, I have kids that are just running around in the backyard and the homestead and things. And I'll never forget, we had a rooster named Floofy. He
Oh.
he was from our first batch of chickens, and was supposed to be a pullet, ended up being a rooster.
Ain't
Uh,
that the way? Ain't that the way?
but he took his job seriously of protecting every sound. All the ladies listened to every sound he made. He was definitely the head chicken in charge. And every time that one of my kids would walk into the backyard, and it was just one, he would chase him around the yard, so he had to keep his distance. But the he was never like violent. He just wanted to chase him. He didn't want him in the space. So he got to stay. He
Mhm.
was a good rooster while we had him, and you know, it's not necessary to have roosters, but if you can, they do perform a pretty good service to the flock, if you will. Um, but if you don't have a need to hatch eggs or want to go down that rabbit hole with poultry keeping, there's no need to keep a rooster. You can always, you know, just have a flock of hens, and um, if that meets your needs of your homestead.
Yeah, absolutely. And for your flock, Phil, I know you have other animals as
Yeah.
well. How do they like interact with your chickens? How does your space work? Like walk us through that.
Well, I mean, that kind of leads me to my cluck cluck what the heck moment for the week. We, I bought a new barn. It's 14, yeah, 14 by 40, and we started with um, making that our coop. And as we were adding to the homestead, we've partitioned off different stalls in the barn.
Mhm.
Um, and so we've added 3 pigs to our homestead, and
Aw.
the chickens, or they're piglets, they're
Mhm.
young, they're like 10 weeks old. But the
Oh.
chickens, they're like, "Why are you in our space?"
Excuse you?
We made a corral for the pigs, and the chickens are like, "You're taking away from us." So um, even though there are these 10-week-old pigs which get the zoomies and are a little bit crazy in their own right, they the chickens, they are not afraid.
Oh,
they
I'm
are
sure.
they have already been into the piglets bedding, laying eggs and nesting in the piglets bedding, which makes finding the eggs really interesting.
Oh, I'm
um,
sure. It's like a little scavenger hunt every day.
Yeah, so the chickens are just like, "Hey, this is our space. We'll let you borrow it." But every time I've lost my mind laughing because every time that the piglets would walk up to these nesting hens, the hens would poke them, you know, uh, poke them in the nose and uh, peck was the word I was looking for, peck
It's
them
all
in the
right. We all
nose, and
got you.
the pigs, they jump back. They're like, "Oh, okay, so the pecking order is chickens and then pigs." They're
And then
finding out.
pigs.
And then pigs, yeah. So they're finding that out right now. And it's so funny to watch because the pigs get the zoomies and the chickens are just like, "What are you doing?" And stay away from this spot in your bed because I'm laying eggs here.
Like, this is my space. Like,
You're a guest. Keep your room clean. You know, all of those things. The chickens definitely rule the roost. That's for sure.
there are some landlords, aren't they?
For sure, for sure. And that takes me to my next consideration is space needs. And
Yeah.
um, you know, are is your coop going to be big enough for containment of the flock, but also do you have a mix of in your flock that likes to free range, or do they
Yeah.
like to stay in the coop? Um, right now, with the sub-zero temperatures, everybody's staying in the coop
Yeah.
at my house. But typically, they want to be out and about. I have a couple, like my bantam Duclays. They like to stay in the coop and check out what's going on in there. But I mean, pretty much everybody else is free ranging. We don't have any fencing or anything like that on our in our homestead yet because we've recently moved.
Yeah.
But they all stick close. I don't have any that like to get up in the trees or anything like that. Um, and I think, you know, we have other animals like the pigs, but we also have dogs that help keep watch on the flock and make sure that, you know, nothing's coming up and snagging them. We hear barking all the time.
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead.
Absolutely. And when when your birds go out and everything, you are going to have those ones that do stay behind. And if
Yeah,
you want a group like that, that is like staying behind and is like closer to the coop, you want to look at how broody they tend to get, because it surprised me when I started interacting with broody hens. Um, do you plan to hatch? Do you want them to be more of a breeder stock? All of that. Those questions, when you're looking at the broodiness slash mothery instinct of those hens, is also very important.
definitely, definitely. I have some Old English game bantams that every time you turn around, they are sitting on a clutch of eggs and
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to go anywhere except for out to eat and then come back in and sit in the nest box.
Yep.
Um, there are times when we let them raise chicks and there are times that we don't. And so we've had to set up a little area to break them from being broody at times.
Mm-hmm.
Which is never fun, but it's a necessary part if you do have a mixed flock. To have the space for that as well. Um,
Yeah.
because if you don't have fertilized eggs, first of all, if you have no roosters and you have no fertilized eggs, there's no reason to have
Yep.
hens that tend to go broody unless you do plan to hatch.
Absolutely. Or you could be like my dad and just let. I think you all remember from my first cluck cluck, what the heck, my Easter egg or Hoppy,
Yes.
who stole my gum. She, my dad decided one day, because she was a very broody, uh, a very broody young woman. So she was always in the nest box. So my dad decided, let's just grant your dream of being a mother. So he gave her 2 eggs, and she raised these 2 eggs, and that's how we got our second 2 roosters, who were named, I think it was Hank, and I think we had one named Nate. And don't ask. um so that led to having 3 roosters in our flock of like 15. So having the, yes, space, but also the wherewithal, if you're going to let your chickens be broody and mother chicks, be ready to have more roosters as well, because you cannot predict that outcome.
Right. And so I shared my cluck cluck what the heck moment. How about you, Lauren? Did you have one this week?
Oh, well, if you insist, Phil, I will share mine.
I can't wait to hear it.
So we have one of our ladies who is in the garage right now because she can't really weather the storm. So she is hanging out in there. And as anyone who has had a quarantine flock knows, you have to upkeep their maintenance a little bit more than your normal flock.
Sure.
So our lady needed her nails clipped.
Ooh,
So,
pedicure.
oh yeah. So everyone in the comments, go tell us if a chicken would have a pedicure or a manicure. We had this debate before before filming, but we would love to hear from you guys, or even send us an email at podcast@meyerhatchery.com. But so I'm looking at my chicken, I'm like, hey dad, I think her nails are looking a little long. Could you help me cut her nails? And like we were saying about having chickens with a amiable personality around kids,
Sure.
even though we are not kids anymore, my dad flipped her over. I started clipping her nails, and she just chilled. She was like, I'm getting my mani pedi, and I'm loving my life. Like, she just kind of like, she chatted with us the whole time. It was
The
like she was
pamper.
exactly. It was like she was at a nail salon. So like, having birds that are going to fit your temperament and the temperament that you feel comfortable with
Sure.
always works out, especially in situations where you need to give them a little spa day.
Absolutely. Upkeep and maintenance is important.
Yes.
So some of those more flighty breeds, they may not love manicure day, petty day,
No.
spa day. But I've had to do the same thing.
Hmm.
Anytime I add any chicks to my flock or any hens to my flock, of course it's important to always quarantine them
Yes.
before. So it does require a little bit more upkeep for them. And what did you use to trim your nails? I just have to ask.
It went between two things. So I
Uh-huh.
have a hardcore like nail clipper
Uh-huh.
that was able to get most of them, but those like really gnarly ones I had to take to a Dremel.
Yep. I
That
was just
was
and I
yeah.
think I know we don't sell the Dremel at on the in the store and on Meyer Hatchery, but we definitely can do an Amazon link
Yes.
to there is actually a specific Dremel that is made for trimming animal nails. If you didn't know that,
I had
um,
no clue, so I'll link it down below for you guys.
yeah, I purchased one because it does have like a guard so that it's for like dog and cat nails,
Yeah.
but it works great for your chickens too. So just a little on that side note there. And I've got one right here that is not a Dremel that I also tried that has a guard on it that does a little. You can't see it, but it's got a little Dremel like quality to it, and it's cordless. So there are a
Oh,
lot of
cool.
products out there that can help with taking care of your flock and trimming nails, which is nobody's favorite thing ever, but some products out there to make it easier.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So what I have, like I said, my like kind of hardcore like nail clipper.
yeah,
I actually, and this is such a stupid story, but I was really into manicures about
please tell me you
2 years
filed her
ago.
nails. Please tell me you filed her nails.
Shh, 1 second. I'm getting there, Phil. So I got this nail kit. I think it was like for Christmas or something. And it had almost like a dog nail clipper.
Hmm.
That has worked really well for me.
Yeah.
But Phil, as you spoiled my story,
No, I knew you were going there.
I was like 13 when I did that.
That's all right.
I wanted to give my chicken Red a manicure. So I filed her nails in the yard, and my dad walks out and is like, "Why? Why is my child sitting here with a chicken?" And like we said, having that temperament is also very important, but there are also some birds that are just like, "I'm just here
I'm
for
going to go
love,
with the
man."
flow. Yeah.
And
I,
our chicken Red was very much like that.
absolutely. My daughter, she's painted chicken nails and everything. I had a feeling that's where you were going with
I
it.
wanted
So,
to so badly, but I did not.
but I mean that great. That's a great cluck cluck what the heck moment because for this week because again we're talking about their ability to be docile and to be
Yes.
handled and so great tie-in to the theme this week. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. I'm glad my trauma can be your trauma.
But now let's do a deep dive. Let's talk about what happened at Meyer Hatchery last year and provide the top three breeds. Again, we're going to focus on egg layer breeds, dual purpose breeds, and meat breeds. Some of the key features and um, we have some stats that are available on our website as well as you're looking at these that tell you how many eggs they'll lay per week, the size, things like that. If you're looking at egg layers, um, in 2025, I was really shocked actually
I was a little too,
yeah,
honestly.
when I looked back at the top breeds, the top three egg layer breeds that we sold in 2025. They were the Rhode Island Red, the Golden Buff, and the Barred Plymouth Rock. Now, I love all three of these breeds for
Hmm.
different reasons. I love the beauty of and the sleek lines of the Rhode Island Red. The golden buff is so friendly,
Oh my God, so
by
friendly.
by far the most friendly high production layer that I've ever come into contact with. And the golden buff is, every hatchery, every source for the chickens have different names. They could be Red Star, they could be
Yes.
Cinnamon Queen. Um, at Meyer Hatchery, we call them the Golden Buff, but they are a powerhouse layer, first of all. But they
Yes.
are so curious and so sweet, which is not always the temperament you get with the high production layers.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they are bred to be egg powerhouses, not to be as warm and fuzzy. But the golden buff is an amazing choice if that's what you're looking for. I
Yeah, and they work really well. We've had a lot of golden buffs.
I've
That
heard
was
you
like our
mention them
favorite.
before. Yeah,
Yeah, so they work very well with children as well. So, if you have kids in your flock,
kids in
those
your
are
flock,
kids in
go
your
with the
flock.
golden
I
buff.
did not mean
Hey, that works. That works. Kids in the flock. Hey, depending on how many you've got out there, I know
true.
I've got several, so it's all part of the homestead when you're raising
Oh,
the
yeah.
kids too.
Oh, yeah.
But one that shocked me as a top egg layer, and not because they're not powerhouses, but I would have wondered or considered other breeds, but our third highest egg layer breed for 2025 was the Barred Plymouth Rock,
Yeah.
which is like that quintessential chicken.
Yeah, it's like
You see
you see it in your brain.
the striped chicken,
Yeah.
when you see chickens and everything, they're so popular. Um, you see that striped barred chicken in a lot of different settings, uh, as one of the most popular chickens, but it's also a top three egg layer, and I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, and they have this great temperament as well. Like they
Yes.
just are so sweet. Some of my favorite birds have actually been barred rocks.
Yep.
So like they're just so sweet. They're such powerhouses in the laying department and they're so pretty. They
Yes,
are
they
just
are
so
pretty.
pretty.
And when we started our flock again, we had a mix of all different breeds, but the Barred Plymouth Rock that we had became like our top hen,
Yeah.
and she was, always the first one to, when we would come out, she would always be the first one in
Yep.
line for any treats. She was just like the most friendly, and the most friendly chicken that wanted to be part of whatever was going on,
Yeah.
curious, inquisitive. And so I think that it was really neat. I think it was really neat that they were, in the top three on the list. And
Yeah.
what's funny is they're also in the top three on the list for being a dual purpose breed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even though they lay those 4 to 6, large to extra large brown eggs a
Mhm.
week, they're also a really sturdy built chicken um, that puts muscle on, and
Yep.
is a all around solid chicken that you can also use as a meat bird.
Yeah, absolutely. And fun fact about barred rocks, they have an auto-sexing gene. So the males tend to be a little bit lighter in color, so you can tell it a bit better.
That's right. The Bard gene is auto-sexing. It's sex linked. So you will see a difference at hatch in the
Mhm.
color of the chicks, which makes them popular as well, because if you have a rooster in front of you or if you have a hen in front of you. And
Exactly.
if you're not allowed to have roosters, it's a real easy breed to separate those out.
Hmm.
So it's another key feature or benefit of keeping the barred rock.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our other two top three were for dual purpose
Yeah,
were the Rhode Island Reds and the Easter Eggers.
yeah, yeah. Rhode Island Reds, they took the top spot in the egg layer, but they're also the top dual purpose breed. And again,
Mhm.
they're a sturdy chicken that puts weight on.
They are
You're
sturdy.
Yeah, and they are quick to mature.
Hmm.
So they make a great option if you're looking for eggs and meat on your homestead. But For dual purpose breeds, I wasn't expecting the Easter egger.
I wasn't either. Let's be 100% honest here, because mine have always been small.
Really?
Yeah, mine have always been smaller birds. I don't know why. They were fluffy birds, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but they were always smaller. Like they were sweet. They produced really good eggs. They were very healthy. They just tended to be a little smaller. So
Yeah.
I was so surprised to see them on this dual purpose breeds.
And these are this that we're providing the top three based on sales and
Mhm.
things like that for us. So folks may not have been buying the Easter egger for a dual purpose bird, but it is an amazing option if you are looking for a dual purpose, you know, a dual purpose breed that lays colorful eggs instead of, just the tan eggs or brown or cream or white. You can add an Easter egg or add Easter eggers to your flock and get different colored eggs
Mhm.
and have that meat option if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in a climate like us that likes to be really cold one day and really hot the next day, they're very hardy in all
Yes.
climates as well. So
Yeah,
that's also a very important thing if you are looking for a dual purpose bird.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then we're now to the meat bird section, which of course, Cornish Cross take the lead as the most popular, fast growing meat bird that we offer. Uh,
Congratulations, Cornish Cross.
yeah, it's hard to beat them. They've been bred to be at the top, and they are what most folks are familiar with. If you go to the grocery store, the meat that you're seeing there is most likely Cornish Cross.
Mhm.
So um, it's what folks are familiar with for the most part. But I think that there are some other characteristics of chickens that we miss out on with Cornish Cross.
Yeah.
Cornish Cross aren't known for being great foragers. They like to sit close to the food bowl, if you will. But so you get a different kind of meat texture and flavor with them because they don't do as much exercise as some of the other broilers that are offered. The second spot, for example, went to the Rainbow Rangers that we offer. And then the third spot to the Pioneer Broilers. And I've raised all three of these. And I am still a huge fan of the Pioneer Broiler. I feel like they forage and grow and provide benefit back to my
Mhm.
homestead more so than the Cornish Cross. The They mature faster than the Rainbow Ranger, but the Rainbow Ranger is also a great option if you're looking for a meat breed that is a little bit slower to develop and can actually be raised a little bit longer, um, to be able to plan and not have to worry about health issues if your processing date goes long or something like that. You can keep the Rainbow Rangers and the Pioneer Broilers a little bit longer than Cornish Cross. And I mean, even with the Pioneer, it can be kept as a long term member of your flock if you'd like.
Yeah.
Um, and they can be a dual purpose breed, offering 3 to 5 eggs per week.
Mhm.
So it just depends on what you're looking for from the meat birds that you're raising. If you're looking for more breasts, Cornish Cross are definitely great for that. If you're looking for more dark meat, legs, and thighs, or a deeper flavor, the Rainbow Ranger and the Pioneer Broiler, those are excellent options.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're more looking for an ornamental flock, we also have a lot of specialized breeds as
Oh, yeah.
well. So having Cochins, Brahmas, Polish, Houdans, you're going to get a lot more of those like unique feathery plumages. If you want your colored eggs, Marins, Americanas, Easter eggers, olive eggers, they're going to give you all of those like Easter eggs, no pun intended. And we also do on the Meyer website have assortments of these specialized breeds. So
I
if
think
you
they're called funky chickens. I
I
love
think
it.
they are, and it's iconic. So if you guys are like looking to add some more specialized chickens into your flock, those are a great way to dip your toe in if you're not entirely sure what breed you want yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, a special mention for the assortments.
Hmm.
I think it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. You receive an assortment of chicks, you get to raise them up and see what works for you, because every chicken is its own individual. Um, you may have the most flighty Rhode Island Red, or you can
Hmm.
have the most friendly Rhode Island Red.
Absolutely.
And so getting an assortment of chicks um, takes a lot of the stress out of selecting the right ones for your flock, because you'll learn what you like best by
Yeah.
getting an assortment.
Absolutely. And while you guys are all over on our site doing your chicken math, we want to help you out a little bit. So if you enter the Coop at checkout, so that is TheCoop at checkout, you can get an extra 10% off.
Awesome.
Hmm.
So now that we've covered the top 3 chicken breeds for meat, eggs, and dual purpose, let's talk about some of the other poultry that we offer at Meyer Hatchery. We have a lot of different things breeds to choose from, species to choose from. I have never been much of a duck person. I don't have a whole lot of experience with ducks. Um, how about you, Lauren?
I have had one flock of ducks. Um, I love them to death. Um, they are messy. Um, and they need a constant source of water.
Why is
So
that?
make because when ducks are growing and being ducks, I mean, you think about it, you see ducks out on the water, right? They need that for enrichment. So having that source of like a baby pool, or if you're lucky enough on your homestead to have a body of water, that is fantastic for them. So it's almost like offering scratch to chickens, making sure that their brain is stimulated in that way. Though I will say ducks are fantastic egg layers.
Okay.
They are great. They often, whereas your chickens will take a break in the winter, they will lay in the winter as well. So
Hmm.
if you're looking for those layers, a white layer or a golden layer is going to be your most high volume of a duck variety. And if you're one of those people that likes to do ducks for meat birds, your pekin or your, I'm going to say this wrong, I think it's a Rouen
Yeah.
duck, those are large and they're fast growing and they're going to taste good once you process them. So that is
Wonderful.
my 2 cents on ducks.
And I do recall that ducks do need a source of water. They don't have to be able to swim, but
Yeah,
it is necessary that they have
they can
water to
splash
keep
around.
their eyes and their nostrils moist.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
do remember that from having them. I so when my son was in 5th grade,
Oh.
um, story time.
I have a feeling I know where this is going.
Yeah, when my son was in 5th grade, his school was hatching ducklings um, as one of the science projects, and I know it's a real popular project.
Oh, so fun.
And unfortunately, for the school, the person that they had to take the ducklings once they hatched, that person fell through, and it was right at the end of the school year.
So you
And
got the ducks.
so the school reached out because they knew, of course, that we had at the time chickens and turkeys, and they're like, "Hey, do you guys have room for these 3 little ducklings?" And I'm just like, not really, but we'll give it a try.
Sure, why
Um,
not?
Unfortunately, we had to rehome them within two
Yeah.
weeks. I was just like, and this is not a con or a negative about ducks. They just have different needs,
Yeah.
um, and uh, we had to rehome them. We just didn't have the setup for them at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important, when we go back to our why, ducks weren't in our weren't in
Yeah.
our why. And so we did rehome them, but I did learn something from that, and that is that it's okay to make mistakes,
Mhm.
and We made a
Yeah.
mistake by accepting them. We wanted them to have a great home. We knew we could provide that, um, but we didn't know what we were getting into with the ducks. And one question that we have a lot in customer service is, can I pick up my ducks at the hatchery? Can I order and pick them up? And unfortunately, because ducks have such different needs, and the
Hmm.
other waterfowl, for our breeder groups, they have such different needs that they're not raised on site with our poultry. So shipping is the only option. We get that question a lot. Can I just pick them up? And unfortunately, because they have those different needs, they are raised at a different location, not able to be picked up with your chicken orders at Meyer Hatchery, at the retail store. But still, I mean, we still ship them weekly with great success. And
Yeah.
um, but it's a question that I didn't know of all of the different needs that ducklings had, and I thought it would be just an easy, okay, we'll get a little tub for them, but no, they needed more
Yeah.
that from us, and so we did have to ultimately rehome them. Um,
Yeah, and I think that perfectly captures, like you said, thinking about your why. And even in our last episode, how we talked about how you plan out your coop. If you're looking to raise more specialized breeds, or m- like a duck or a turkey or a guinea, having that consideration when you're creating your space is also very important. So, and I heard that you raise turkeys.
yes.
So how was that?
So while we realized that we weren't duck people, we didn't know that we were turkey people until we had turkeys.
Yeah.
Um, Turkeys are quite possibly the funniest farm animal. They are so inquisitive, and so they're like little dogs that follow you around.
Oh.
They definitely want to know what's going on at all times. They like to imprint on humans and follow you around and be a part of everything. I did raise them with my chickens, which there are some health considerations that you need
Mhm.
to, look into there. But um, I never knew that I needed turkeys until I had turkeys. It's so fulfilling to keep them. Um, Now there are some that you can keep longer than others.
Mhm.
So the broad-breasted turkeys that we have, those are going to be more fast-growing. They typically are those that you'll find in the freezer section at the grocery store for holidays and things like that. Those are also the ones that the varieties that are used at fairs,
Mhm.
for 4-H and things like that. We have the broad-breasted white and bronze. They grow a lot faster than our heritage breeds. Heritage breeds will grow slower. They're better foragers. They're able to reproduce naturally, and the heritage breeds are going to be the ones that you can keep on your homestead longer because they are not going to grow so quickly, so fast, and so big that they
Mhm.
have to be processed at a certain age. You will find typically with the broad-breasted varieties that you have to process them at a certain age because they do get so big so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are beautiful. So having them on your flock, you have these little ornaments for
And
however long they're there.
they love to strut their stuff.
Mhm.
I've found my turkeys on top of my coop. I've found them in the trees in my yard,
Because why
um,
not?
because they love to get high and so they can see. And they are definitely a good breed for um, pest control and for raising the alarm for the rest of your
Yeah.
flock. They are very vocal whenever they feel that they are in danger. So
Yeah.
and that leads me to the next one, and maybe you can talk about guineas and geese. I've never had guineas or geese, but I do know that they are quite noisy.
Yeah.
Like to be sounding the alarm on the
Oh,
farm.
yeah. So they're very chatty. They will yell. They will not hesitate to yell. Let's say that. But they're also really, really good at and tick control. And they're going to scavenge around. They're going to get all of that, and it's going to be beneficial for you and for the rest of your flock if you're adding them into your flock. They also like to wander, so keep that in mind when you are raising guineas. Another one that's really great for an alarm system are geese. So if you're into waterfowl, adding geese is going to do really well with your protection of your birds and also your weed control. I did not expect that with geese because my only interaction with geese is going to my local like shopping center and seeing them hanging out.
Uh,
Um our local shopping center is notorious for geese. They just hang out there. They're also very noisy, so take that into consideration when you are adding them to your flock. Um, and yeah, they're both great for alarms on your farm, and they
so
will not hesitate to chat.
they may not be the best choices
Yeah.
for your space if you're in an urban setting or a suburban setting. You might want to wait until you have the country farm for adding geese and guineas.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of your more smaller space birds are going to
Oh,
be quails,
yeah.
honestly. They don't they don't take a lot of space because they're tiny. They're great for an urban homestead. And they are ready to lay or eat at about 6 to 8 weeks. So
Okay.
they're a great, like, fast maturing, fun to raise bird for all of our urban homesteaders out there.
Definitely those smaller breeds are definitely good for that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And bantams as well. Those are
Yeah,
great.
bantams.
And with your urban homestead and your smaller flocks and all of that, you're going to want to make sure that when you're mixing your breeds, they're compatible. So, Phil, you've had a lot more mixed breeds than I have. What did
Sure
you
do.
look for in that?
So my flock is a complete mixed flock. I have bantams, I have large fowl, and like I said, I've had turkeys as well. And the biggest thing I found is when brooding chicks, if you're bringing them up as day old chicks, um, I have kept my bantams separate from my large fowl in brooding, but
Hmm.
also it's a consideration for when they mature and they're you have roosters. If you have roosters going after bantams for
Yeah.
mating purposes, large fowl roosters can hurt bantams when breeding if they're not gentle.
Yep.
um, so I think it's important, if you're mixing a flock or having a mixed flock of different sizes, to keep them separated as best you can until they are about the same size before integrating them. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah. And
Um,
that'll cause a lot less stress on your birds as well.
yeah, and even if you have the correct, or the optimal number of roosters per hens, if you keep roosters in your flock, um, the breeding piece is something you definitely want to keep an eye on, because those large fowl roosters, again, they can cause harm if you're not careful, if you don't have the right number of hens and bantams, and you're going to want to keep an eye on that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're going to purchase your birds, now that we've talked about all of the considerations you need to make and all the different birds that you could choose from,
Mhm.
sourcing your birds is a very important piece.
So, when sourcing your birds, I think it's important, to make sure that you are coming to Meyer Hatchery. Why is that? Because biosecurity matters, and we are NPIP certified. We are a reputable, long-standing business with excellent customer service policies and care. We are here for you.
Hmm.
Additionally, we have knowledgeable breeders on our staff that are always breeding our breeder flock towards the APA standard. Even though we provide hatchery, um, quality poultry, We are always looking to improve and grow and strengthen our flock. And we have breed and merchandise selection to meet all of your poultry needs. We've
Yeah.
talked a lot about what's your why. We have chickens to help you meet that. We have the product selection to help you get set up. And we have the customer service team that wants you to be successful and help you all along the way. So, as we finish up today's podcast, I just want to reiterate just kind of like a final checklist before going out and purchasing your poultry. A couple questions to ask yourself, to make note of, and to answer is or are: have I built the appropriate housing fencing for my breed's needs? Have I accounted for their adult size and feed consumption? And is this breed hardy in my specific climate? With those three questions, I think that in addition to your why, you'll end up with the right flock and the right mix of birds in your homestead.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the next episode of the Coop podcast, we're going to take everything we learned today and we're going to dig into the reasons for choosing how you get your flock. So if you want day old poultry, started pullets, older hens, roosters, or a mixture of all in your flock, we're going to chat about that in the next episode. And if you have any questions for us, please feel free to reach out to us at podcast@meyerhatchery.com and share your thoughts on today's podcast. Also, make sure that you tune in and tell us if a chicken would have a manicure or a pedicure. That is a very important question.
we must we must know the answer.
We need to know. And with that, I think that's it.
Yeah, we thank you for listening to the Coop. Be sure to subscribe, and if you would be so kind to drop us a review. Do you have a poultry related question or topic you would like to cover or like for us to cover? We definitely want to hear from you, so reach out. We look forward to your comments and building the Coop community.
See you guys next time.
Have a good one.